Well, hello, everyone, and welcome so much to Servant Leadership Today. My name is Andy Wilson. I'm joined again by my co-host, Celia Swanson. Hi, Celia.
Hey, good morning. How are you, Andy?
Well, I'm doing great. It's good to see you. It's been a few weeks since we have been together.
It has.
I hope you had a wonderful holiday.
Oh, it was the best ever.
Great.
Yes.
Great. Well, it's good to see you. I'm glad you're back in our beautiful Northwest Arkansas, and we're here to talk about Celia's book again. As you know, we've had such wonderful podcasts, but, we've been talking about gracious and strong. And today, we're going to do something that we quite haven't done yet. We're just going to take a chapter and really go deep.
Yes.
Well,
it's the core of the book.
It is
about how to rise above unexpected left turns. And, this topic of fears and limiting beliefs is significant. We all face them.
We do. And I think that's why I was so drawn to this chapter. And I told Celia, I said, I've read it 3 times already. And I just got to keep, I said, let's just go down deep. So we're going to do that. She said, but before we get in, this is a great quote she has. And this actually chapter 2. We're going to really dig deep into chapter 3, but chapter 2, the quote, I think, in fact, is from one of my favorite individuals in history, Eleanor Roosevelt.
Yes.
What a
powerful
wonderful woman.
Yes.
Oh, my goodness. I'm as most people have read about her documentaries and things and seen that, but you have a wonderful quote. If you're okay if I read that.
Yes,
right?
Please.
It says, "You gain strength, courage, and confidence by every experience in which you really stop to look fear in the face." Mm-hmm. Okay, let's read that again.
Love it.
You gain strength, courage, and confidence by every experience in which you really stop to look fear in the face. Then she continues, "You must do the thing you think you cannot do."
Yes.
Wow. Eleanor Roosevelt.
Yeah.
Eleanor, thank you for that. Thank you for leaving that behind for us.
That's great.
Yeah. Yes. Well, Celia, let's do this. I think we all face fear. We all face limit beliefs. And one of the things that I really want you to talk about, Celia, because in this chapter, you really share your heart. I mean, you do the whole book is about your heart, no question. But you really do get really deep into, the struggles that we have in life, the fear that we have in life and business and you name it. We all have it. We're human beings.
Right.
We are. So, Celia, talk to us about your thoughts around the struggles and fear that we have in our life and how to deal with that.
Yes, I'd be happy to, Andy. The first, though, is acknowledging that everyone, it doesn't matter who you're sitting next to or who you're working with or who you're working for, everyone has fears. Mm-hmm. And it's developing that skill to face into those fears and be able to come out on the other side in a much better place than if you had not faced into those fears. But a real leader, Andy, is someone who can help others identify the fears that they're facing and can walk them through the process of getting through them. And so that's why I think this whole concept is so powerful under servant leadership.
Right. I think you said leaders help people identify the fears.
Yes.
That's the leader's role.
Yes, it is.
How do they do that? How did you do that?
Yeah.
Great. How did your leaders do that with you? Even so.
Yeah. Great questions. How do leaders do that? They actually have to have a relationship with the people that they work for, work with, and serve to really be able to then broach a conversation about, I don't see you living up to your full potential. Mm-hmm. What are the fears that you have, that you're facing, that are blocking you from your ability to live up to your full potential? The richness of that conversation is amazing because first of all, a person might say, I don't have any fears.
Right.
But the fact is, something's holding them back.
Yeah.
And second of all, just identifying, helping them see what their full potential is. Sometimes you can't see it. It's right in front of you, but you can't see it.
Right.
And somebody acknowledging that and then, helping you make decisions to live up to your full potential. And then sometimes it's reflecting. Like, okay, I just came through a situation. I didn't live up to my own potential. And what got in my way? And how do I not repeat that same mistake or fear again?
Right.
But, there are a couple of really common fears, Andy. The three that I talk about here in the book. One is the fear of not being good enough.
Yeah.
And we're going to go a little deeper on that one. But the second fear is fear of change. And the third one is really fear of losing control.
Right.
And, those are just three that I've run into personally, as well as being a coach and a leader for others.
Talk about the first one.
Yeah, fear of not being good enough.
Right. Talk about that, because you got a great piece here in your book on that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think when I was coming up through the ranks in my career, I was often the only woman and sometimes the youngest person in the room. And so I would question whether or not I needed, I had a point of view that really was going to be powerful and important to hear. And so I hung back. And that actually was a limiter for me because it reflected a lack of confidence. I didn't think I was expressing a lack of confidence, but then I'd go into a performance review and they'd say, you have to get over your confidence issues. And I'd be like, what? And they would say, it's evident. And I'm thinking, I hid that. Nobody could see that.
Right.
But it was evident.
Right.
And so this lack of confidence is just really reflecting on, what are you strong at?
Right.
Where do you add value? We've talked about this in a previous podcast. But then, saying what needs to be said and living up to that. One of the, turnaround moments for me in my career was when I was making the transition from Sam's, where I was very confident in what I was doing. I felt great about my contributions, great about how I was leading. And then the world went upside down on me. And I made the decision to transition over to the Walmart side of the business. And I've talked about Lawrence Jackson, who I think is a great, leader, but he came into Walmart US as the head of HR for Inc., actually. And I was asked to be his mentor. And he's a powerful, influential, charismatic leader. So trying to influence him was a really difficult thing. But he was so insightful that one day I started pushing back on him and saying, this is not the most effective way for you to get your thoughts, across to the organization. He was pretty much a throw the bomb in the room and then let everybody react to it and see where all the pieces fall. And I said, there's some times where that's not the most effective way. And finally, we built a trust and a relationship conversation. And when it was time for me to move into a formal role over on Walmart US side of the business, he came to me and he said, I knew you were going to be okay when you decided that you were good enough.
Wow.
And I had not thought about it in that way. Very powerful. Again, a leader saw in me this light switch that went on.
Right.
And it empowered me, and it allowed me the opportunity to do much more in my years over on the Walmart U.S. side than I ever thought was possible.
Right. Well, I think, the point is what you said, as leaders, when people report to you, or you report to people, they just can't surface. You got to drill down deep and get to know that individual.
Yes.
So if you really want to have impact on whoever that's working with you, you have to get to know them. They have to get to know you. You've got to open up. Now that's when you can really be honest, and that's exactly what happened, what you described.
Yes.
It happened. You were able to have that deep conversation about your development.
Yes.
And about your skills and about your strengths and your weaknesses.
Yeah, and my limiting beliefs. Right. That's exactly right.
Yeah, that's right. That's good.
There's another story I want to tell about being good enough as well. And I tell this story in the book, but I was given the opportunity to lead the talent development function for Walmart US. And that's training and leadership development, succession planting, mentorship, all of those things. And they were about to outsource the talent development function, the training and leadership development function. But they said, hey, we'll give this to you and see if you can turn it around. So I was introducing my boss, Tom Mars, to the team. And I was interviewing him. I had these questions. And all of a sudden, he turned the tables. And he started interviewing me and asking me, why was I the right leader to turn around this function? And in a second, I responded back by saying, I'm good enough.
Yeah.
I have the experience to turn around businesses. I have the passion for developing all Walmart associates to live up to their fullest potential. And even more than that, this team is good enough and they can play a critical role in Walmart's success. And it was he stopped. He did not expect that answer to come from me. And it was really at that moment we started to build a very strong, supportive relationship that still exists today.
Yeah, I know Tom, and I'm not surprised at that at all. Being the leader attorney that he is, and extremely talented individual. But that was perfect.
Yeah.
And your answer, you said, I'm good enough.
Yep.
That's great.
And, I didn't expect that to come out of my mouth, but I was...
You're ready for it.
Ready for it.
You're ready for it.
That's right.
There's a couple things I really want to explore for the next few minutes. You've got a great conversation in your book around mentor-mentee. I want to come back to that. I'd like maybe we could close with that. Because you really do give great advice to us around being a mentor-mentee, and so many people miss that, but you lay that out. But I want you to go and talk a bit more, around limiting beliefs and behaviors. When I was reading your book, I call it 4, there may be more, but at least 4 critical pieces that I know I took away from limiting your beliefs. Could you talk through that a bit and share that with our viewers and audience? So I think that it really helps to what you ultimately did was create change.
Right.
So back into that, or go into that with us, because I think we all need that. I know it. I learned a lot from it already. It reminded me of things, but let's break that down a bit.
So I'd be happy to. One of my awakening moments in my career was when I just had my head down and I was doing great work and I knew it was great work, but I was never getting the credit for it, right? People all around me were getting promoted. People all around me were getting accolades. And I thought, I don't get it, why that's all happening around me and I'm not participating in that. And so I actually had to reconcile with myself that networking was not a political activity, that it was actually a relationship building activity. And so I started to pay attention to the fact that who were my mentors, who were people that I wanted to learn from, who were people that I wanted to know better, and I felt like I could learn either leadership skills or specific skills in my role. And it became clear to me that I needed to identify 2 mentors. And in that process, both of them said yes, but one of them, he completely expected the mentee to drive all the conversations, to drive the topics, to come prepared, to use that time. This was Mike Duke. And it taught me a powerful lesson about being a mentee as well as a mentor. And, some of the things that I talk about in the book are, first of all, as a mentee, pick your mentor with purpose. Don't just want to be part of so-and-so's groupie team, right? Pick a specific reason why they are the one that you want to have mentor you. And then tell them that. And then build your agenda and your questions and your activities all around gaining the best on that purpose. And then the second thing is you're in control as a mentee of the frequency that you meet, the topics, what you're going to get out of it, and maybe most important of all is doing something with the feedback that you get from the mentor. Because, when I put myself in a situation of being a mentor, I'm giving my best advice to folks. And if it falls on dry soil, it doesn't cause me to want to invest more and more in the person. When it falls on fertile soil, then I want to give more and I want to help this person even more. So doing something with the feedback that you get, and then just never abusing that mentorship relationship. It's not something to go out and, tell the world, hey, look who's my mentor. It's really about personal growth and development. So those were some of the things I talk about in the book.
I think they're critical. I know I've recently been asked from someone, a company I'm on a board with, and one of the young individuals recently promoted over human resource to the company, and so the CEO reached out and said, hey, would you mind meeting and spending time and mentoring this individual? I'm very, very excited about it, and we've had one meeting so far, and fortunately, that's one of the things I told him. I laid out, okay, here's my expectation.
Yes.
And let's talk how this is going to work. There's tremendous amount of responsibility on your end. There's responsibility on my end, but we're going to make a commitment together.
Yes.
And I think that's critical. I've seen these type things fall apart fairly quickly.
Yes.
And you've probably seen that.
Yeah.
But I think your advice in your book around mentee and mentor is very, very, very good.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
And again, I think back, I had lots of people who wanted to be part of my mentor circle.
Right.
And that was a way that I could actually mentor more people than just one-on-one. But you kind of get lost if you're a mentee in a circle. One of my greatest moments of remembrance about the quality of a mentee circle was when the mentees would come and say, we'd like to do XYZ trip. We'd like to go to a club or a store with you and walk it with you and see it through your eyes. We'd like to learn more about Arkansas politics. So we'd like to take a trip to Little Rock and see, politics in action. We'd like children's health, I've talked about before, so important to me. We'd like to go to the children's hospital and see it through your eyes. And those field trips were some of the most powerful because just like traveling with the operators, when you're in the plane, you're building relationships and learning so much and peppering with questions and conversation. Then you get to the purpose of why you have your trip. and you just are soaking up how that operator tours a store or a club. And then you come home and you're reflecting on all that you learned and getting feedback from the individual that led that. It just, those were amazing moments.
I think for our listeners and viewers, something here, how I know we all have, a lot of us have stories of our mentor or being, our mentee, or a mentee, but my mentor, I will tell you, she was one of my school teachers. Mm-hmm. And Miss Betty changed my life. I would not have accomplished in my life what I had accomplished without her, because she believed in me as a junior in high school and absolutely changed my life.
Right.
And she and I, we stayed in touch for years and years.
Yes.
And in fact, when she became much older, and when I couldn't talk with her on the phone, I would call her son and talk to her son to talk about her mom, about his mom. And to your point, there's a story that I've written about how at Walmart, when I took a group of trainees, summer trainees, with me to go to the small Alabama town to attend her funeral. I took them with me.
Yes.
And they were there when I spoke about her. And I told them that I wanted them to understand how important this mentor-mentee relationship could be in your life.
Yes.
Because this woman changed my life. Mm-hmm. That's the impact she had. That's why I wanted you to talk about this. This is so deep and rich. You can really change people's lives here.
Yes.
Or make such an impact.
Yes.
That it can be a lifelong journey for them. And so this is not a small task. I guess the point is, when you're asked to be a mentor, take it on, be serious, make sure your mentee has these things you talk about.
Yep.
There are requirements. So anyway, Celia, it's huge. And I know today, I know you're overwhelmed all the time with people that you've touched in your life, and people still reach out to you. Because I just talked to someone recently that had a similar impact, with you. So thank you for that.
Yes.
Yeah.
This whole book actually is a reflection of what I've learned, but delivered in a way that I hope they're considered gifts.
Yeah.
And I try to always wrap up each chapter with discussions on how do you apply this.
Okay, let's spend a few moments on this.
On how to apply.
Yeah.
Okay, facing into limiting beliefs.
Yeah, this was really good. And if you could see my notes, okay, I've got a lot of notes here. So talk about that as we wrap things up today, because one of the things Celia and I really want to do today, we wanted to take something, just sort of dive down deep with it. And we have so much more to come in the future, but let's go there.
Yeah. There's really 4 steps in how to apply facing into your limiting beliefs. But the first is identifying what are your limiting beliefs. Mm-hmm. And honestly, this is quiet time with yourself. And when did I not live up to my expectations? What's keeping me from being the best that I can be in my role, whatever role that is, life or leadership role? And what's my passion? Am I working in something that is my passion, or am I just going through the exercise of getting a paycheck? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And just sitting down and reflecting on those and writing them down. Mm-hmm. The second step is evaluate your presence. By that I mean how you show up when you're facing into your fears, or change is happening all around you, or you have this loss of control, how you show up matters. People are watching, no matter what level you are. They're watching to see how you're going to navigate through and react to, facing into fears and negative situations.
Or even if you're going to show up.
Well,
because some people quit.
Yes.
They don't.
That's
stop.
The first thing that happens is they don't show up.
They don't show up.
Yep.
And what you're telling us, we show up.
Yep.
In my life, I will tell you, there are times I wanted to quit. I'm done.
Yes.
I hit a wall. Somewhere, somehow, I got up the next day and showed up.
Yep.
And that's what you have. You got to show up.
Yeah, seriously.
And if we're talking to you today and you're having that fear, you're facing this thing, and you're saying, I am done, I want to encourage you to show up tomorrow. Show up today. Be there. But that you're right. I think you're second. You got to evaluate your presence. That's powerful.
Yeah. I'll tell another story next time around when we talk about falling forward, but people watch you, and they watch to see, to your point, how you show up, showing up, right. That you did show up, and then how are you conducting yourself as you show up. Right. And so be very thoughtful and purposeful about both of those things.
Underline, highlight this.
Yeah.
Go how you show up, because your attitude, your behavior, all of that. People are looking at.
If you're angry and you're going to reflect that, then
right.
That's how people are going to view you.
That's exactly.
And if, however, you show up and say, there's something in here that I can learn, and there's something in here I can contribute, and so you're on this journey to figure that out, that's a whole different perception that you've created in people's mind about you.
Right.
It really does matter. The next step is really evaluate how you're spending your time and investing your time, which really is trying to align about where you get the most joy and purpose in what you're doing and spending your time on. And then the last one, Andy, is understanding how what I'll call the change curve. And I have a copy of the change curve in the back of the book, in the appendix. But I've used this so many times in my career. It's patterned after grief, reaction patterns to grief. But it's the same behaviors and reaction patterns that you must go through for any kind of change or fear that you face into. And it starts with uncertainty or disbelief, not really thinking that this change is about to happen. And then it moves into, well, it doesn't have to happen. I don't have to participate. So you're in denial, and then you're in doubt, and then you're actually dragging down progress because you're not going. And then it moves into acceptance, and then it moves into actually behaving in the way that the change was intended to accomplish, and you're an advocate for that change. And so finding where your behavior is on the change curve can be very insightful. And that's why I included it in the book. But find out where you are and then speed yourself through those behaviors of reaction to change or grief, because the goal really is every time you bump into one of these unexpected left turns, you're going to go through that reaction pattern. The key is to figure out how you go quicker so that you get to this end result of you're adopting the change, and you're, actually helping others adopt that change.
Ooh, that's good.
Thank you. It's been through the school of hard knocks.
That's so
these
good.
lessons have come.
Oh, wow. So, I really appreciate that deep dive today. And I just felt like that I don't think it was just for me. Okay. Because I think facing our fears and limiting beliefs is critical as we navigate life, as we navigate work, whatever. And I will tell you that I really want to encourage our audience and viewers to pick up a copy of Gracious and Strong by Celia Swanson. It's absolutely a great book. If you've heard a lot about it, you'll hear more about it on our show because I think there's a lot more that we want to bring out to you here. Celia, it's good to have you back today. Thanks for taking time, and I will tell you one of the things Celia and I are talking about in the future. And it's going to really be up to Celia. But I've asked her to really think about sharing some really intimate, deep time in her life about falling forward. And so, Celia, maybe next episode we could do that.
Yes, I'm ready to do that.
Okay,
Andy.
well, then next episode, you want to stay tuned because it's going to be awesome. And she's going to share some really personal information with us. And Celia, thank you so much. It's always good to see you.
So much.
Yeah, I'm glad you're back.
I hope our audience is getting the full richness of.
Okay, but listen, you can check us out at Servant Leadership Today, but also our main website is Doing Business in Bentonville. You can check us out there. We're on all your favorite streaming channels, so check us out: Apple, Spotify, YouTube, and of course LinkedIn. We're there. See ya. Again, it's so good to see you. I'm glad you're back in Northwest Arkansas, and we will be back with another episode very, very, very soon.
Very good.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Okay, goodbye.